Tiny cruel son.
Uh-oh.
Ah!
Welcome back to Anime Casuals. I'm Lucky.
Here I go! This hand of mine is burning red!
And I'm Michael. Realize the only ones who should kill are those who are prepared to be killed.
Johnny. Your darkness swallowed up my son? Who decided that?
Erupting! Burning!
Now all of you.
Die.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Anime Casuals. I'm Michael.
I'm Johnny.
And today we are your co-hosts. I know our mystery fluffy-haired friend is not here today. He had personal matters to attend to.
I told you we shouldn't have done this. Anyway.
Yeah, but he'll be back next week. Yeah, it's just sad whenever he's not here. So we were tasked to put our two brains together, which become one brain. Funnily enough, it doesn't become two, it becomes one brain. And when it links up together, we think of ideas. And our idea this week was that we should talk about anime that we want to have a reboot. Now, we are kind of, I guess, sticking to 90s childhood anime, but
We happened to.
yeah.
Didn't try, but we are.
Yeah. And we're going to go through some anime and figure out why we want to reboot it. I'm going to kick off this discussion with one that I really think would benefit from the graphical upgrade of today's technology, which is Yu Yu Hakusho. Yu Yu Hakusho is, of course, about a kid who died, which, you know what? Maybe Yu Yu Hakusho is like where the isekai started. Because he might have been the first boy to be run over by a truck and start a whole new journey into something else. So yeah, he gets run over by a truck, and then a lady named Botan comes down and goes, "Hey, you should be a spirit detective and figure out demons and stuff." And so he does that. And
Sweet.
Yeah, and it's definitely like one of the original like powerhouse anime, at least that I saw, like Adult Swim, and basically where we started watching anime in the first place, at least casually. Wink, wink, blank, blank. It's our name. And I think it would really deserve a nice physical upgrade to it. Mostly because there's a lot of cool fight scenes in there, all drawn beautifully, but unfortunately with some drawn anime, it doesn't quite hold up anymore. Just because it was the way the recording process worked is that now, since the anime is out, you would have to go back and scan back in everything at a higher resolution, and that would give you a higher grade anime to watch. But now that it's out, it's just suffering from, times. And my bigger thing is that the story is really rock solid, but I think they could kind of fusion like this together with like the way Dragon Ball Z Kai did, is they can get like right to the story and the meat and bones of it, and maybe retool some things that maybe now that they have a little bit more power behind it, they can show off a little bit better. And it kind of can eliminate the 90s feel of where it had a lot of like slow pans to it, where it's like, and we're watching the scene now. And we're still watching it. Look, even the camera is trying to zoom in like on this right. It's like, hold on, let me pan in on that shot and play some slow music while we look over this frame that's not moving. And
that tension.
Yeah, I really think Yu Yu Hakusho could it's so good and the story is so solid, but all it just needs is a facelift,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember watching Yu Yu Hakusho, and it was that it holds up for when it was made, but definitely it's a little hard to be like, this was awesome, but my hero looks amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just a hard example of that. So
yeah.
I agree. I think it'd be good if it had a little bit of a facelift, redone a bit.
Yeah, and
touched up.
Not to spoil what I'm going to be talking about, but very well might be that a couple on my list need the same treatment. But instead of talking about my list, let's bounce over to this guy.
No, that's pretty fair. I'm trying to remember mine, and Might have a similar thing. I actually was see this one's a little bit half. I was gonna say Zoids. Even though I remembered there is a Netflix version. If anything, I don't like it. I don't want to watch it. I'm going to, but I'm just not yet. So I don't know. If anything more, not because of the animation, and I want it to be better, but I think I'd like watching a redone version, kind of a more, I don't know if fleshed out is the right word, just more built. It had a good story. It was fine. It was just kind of simple. And I think it could definitely be something bigger. There was actually, and I'm talking about one, there's actually like 3 or 4 versions of Zoids, so I'm not.
Hold on. Well,
let's all get lost a little bit.
Let's rearrange them and figure out which one you want to pull from and throw at us.
If you know Zoids, it's the one with Bit McCloud, blonde dude, and he drives the Liger Zero. That was the one I want to get redone. There was one with an intense story where they had a shield Liger in this. I don't know. They had like a tiny Zoid that flew into.
Was it like Gurren Lagann?
You know, sure, vaguely. I mean, not quite as like violent with the drilling in, but you know, the tiny Zoid became the big Zoid. Oh my god! I hope people look at it and try and find it just based on that because they're so lost and curious.
You know, you find us a clip and you put this in our comments. What is he talking about?
But I'm gonna just what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, is the new Zoids kind of like the new Voltron, or unlike the new Voltron, where the new Voltron on Netflix is like, hey, we're gonna give you a fresh new storyline, keep all the amazingness of the fusion robots and the lions, and we're gonna put it with new voice actors, and we love the old Voltron too. But this new Voltron is the new hotness, as a young Will Smith used to say.
I think I'd say I think I'd like more of a Voltron feel. Because that's the thing. The new one that's on Netflix is more. I don't know what to call it. It's not quite kiddish, but it is kind of like it right now. Okay. I guess all the characters are kids. And the Zoids are a fraction of their size, and they ride the Zoids. I don't like that. They used to drive them, and they were huge. Like, this was a sport for adults,
Wait,
you didn't go into
the sport?
Yes, it was. Oh. The people competed across so much a distance.
We've had this conversation before where he keeps asking me if I or reminding me what Zoids is. I can now confirm I don't think I've ever seen Zoids. I've been like 50-50 for like a couple of years going, maybe I saw Zoids. And I would confuse that with like the really old Boomerang show, Herculoids. Which is the one with like the buff dude and the rhino that shoots stuff out of its horn.
That seems familiar, but I'm like, what?
I never really watched it. I just saw commercials of it. And now I can confirm, no, never watched Zoids. 2020, December, never watched Zoids. You can quote me on this.
We got him, folks. We got him. So yeah, I don't know if you want to.
No, actually, that leads perfectly into mine because I am a lover of all things games. I've had a couple videos strictly on anime, that have been based on games, or I talk all the time about video game anime, or anime that's been based on its own game or creates games inside of it. And we're going to talk about a quick one that should be rebooted, but for the exact reason that you talked about, is this lead in long enough for you to get hyped on what I'm going to say, Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, you're going to be like, Michael, there has been so many iterations of Yu-Gi-Oh! In fact, I think we're to our 6th or 7th one this year. And that's not the point. I want the original Yu-Gi-Oh! That was based on the manga redone in the style of the manga itself. Now, my reason for that is the same as Zoids, is because the way Yu-Gi-Oh! Was made is so it's definitely for kids. It was on 4 kids, for goodness sake.
Kids WB, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And I was like,
I watched it.
And it's got the 4 kids dubbed to it, where people have weird voices, which I loved as a kid because I didn't care.
Is that just all of them? Did all the 4 kids dub end up weird? I only knew One Piece. I mean, I knew Yu-Gi-Oh, but Yu-Gi-Oh was just normal to me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Wait, was Pokemon done by 4 kids?
I think it was on 4Kids.
Okay, well, I won't even dive into that. I'm not. This is casual. I don't need to know too much information. Most of them, yes, were kind of done strangely because they were like, "Hey, let's get these voice actors in there and do some easy stuff." You know, these kids won't know who Japanese people are, so make them a Boston accent. He's got blonde hair, whatever. And so my biggest reason for Yu-Gi-Oh being rebooted is that it'd be fun to attack the main series and redo it in adult style. So that's bringing in season 0, which was this, where the Dark Yugi came out, Yami Yugi, and he like absorbed and took over Yugi's body for a little bit, and then would fight anybody that would bully him. So like it happened in the first episode where there was a bully who was picking on Joey and Tristan, you know, when Joey and Tristan were bullying Yugi. And then the bully basically bullied them and said, "Hey, now Yugi, you got to pay me up for those, for kicking these bullies' butts." And there's this whole moment in the manga where that still happens. And then just crazily, he's like, "Hey, let's play a shadow game." And he just curses him with like seeing trash as money. There's another guy where he basically breaks his brain, and now all he can see is mosaic, like that old censoring fashion. And so his eyes are just like that sparkly pattern, and he can't really see anymore. It's all blurry. And I'm like, yeah, wouldn't you love a Yugi that just was badass like in the beginning of the series, and then slowly was like, "Yo, why don't you calm down? I'm playing card games." And that led all the way to the moment where you see Yugi and Kaiba up on the tower, and he's finally like, "No, stop. It's not all about winning." And then, you know, the evolution starts from there. So I just want an adult version of Yu-Gi-Oh! And, you know, maybe a side note for me is like, I want the original feel back. I haven't watched much more than Jaden. Was Jaden Yuki or the XD guy? Yeah. I watched that, and then it felt kind of rip-off-ish of the previous Yu-Gi-Oh! But I know that some of them have gotten that original flair back. So
I think if I remember right, they actually had a Yugi.
Yeah.
Dual Jaden.
Yeah. There's spoilers for Yu-Gi-Oh! XD if you haven't seen it. Yugi comes back at the end. I think. Oh yeah, GX. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Yeah, XD was the one that I think that was after or whatever. I'm casual. Again, don't even know information. But yeah, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Looks fine. So it doesn't need an overhaul on how it looks. It's just I want a story from that's more adult. That has to deal with
that darkness.
Yeah, I want the darkness. I want a dark Yu-Gi-Oh! And, you know, I've ruined it for myself by reading the manga. Bad me. Don't read manga. No, I love manga. I'm taking the reins. Hold on. I'm gonna put it. There you go.
Next one I'm going to talk about. Sorry if you were going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about Initial D.
Whoa,
I know.
It's about cars. That's all I know.
Actually, if you want to talk about it, because here's the thing, I've only seen an episode or two of Initial D, but from what I did see, I think it'd actually benefit from just a facelift. I think it'd be really good. I mean, there's plenty of crazy things that we can see in a lot of anime that would definitely warrant that.
I won't disagree. I mean, I will say about watching Initial D is actually really fun because the 3D still looks decent for what it is. It does look a little it's not clunky like some 3D like in that Netflix show,
that choppiness.
Yeah, like in the Avatar Netflix show. Where you see the choppiness and things kind of stutter. Like Initial D did a really good job of making all of the motion of the cars look very realistic. But it would be nice to have them look very realistic instead of like obviously standing out in a drawn out background. Yeah. Because that's the only thing that's 3D in that show, if I'm not mistaken. And I could be. And I actually watched like four seasons of it, even though I'm not that big in the cars.
Wow. 4 seasons. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I got into it and it was really fun to watch, but like I lost interest near the end because I was like, oh yeah, I'm not in the cars. So like, and they're just racing each other. And honestly, like the first couple of episodes are huge to draw you into that show. But I think it also could use that 90s cut where you take out all of the panning slow music shots, to be honest. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Initial D. I don't know. It comes off as a B.
I showed you all, maybe like an episode of this. I showed you an episode of Magic Knight Ray Earth at some point.
I think you have, but I don't remember anything about what it's about.
Yeah. Okay.
And the title gives me nothing.
I mean, that's true. Yeah. I mean, like, I could be like, "Hey, Johnny, have you seen Rock, Jiggle Your Butt?"
Yeah. Which one?
Yeah. Have you seen Love Live, Idol High School?
Actually, no.
Yeah.
I've heard about it, but no.
Yeah. Magic Knight Ray Earth was basically like the original D&D JRPG anime. And there was a game, I don't know if it came before. I'm pretty sure it came afterwards, but whatever. I'm just getting everything wrong today. Science fact check me, someone out there. Magic Knight Ray Earth was all about basically 4 girls with separate colors who met at the top of Tokyo Tower and then were flung into a fantasy world. And guess what?
Isekai?
It was original isekai. They didn't need to die at all. They were just thrust
No.
into this fantasy world because they needed someone
Jumped
to save
off a
it.
mountain.
Yeah. And so basically they go through the typical RPG things where they get armor, they get weapons, they'll level up with them. And then for some reason, halfway through, they get giant robots. So yeah, I don't think you saw that, but it's really awesome. And then kind of like Zelda-ish, they need to go into the temple of said color and defeat the temple, and the temple will like guard to get the spirit of the Gundam that they're gonna use.
Okay.
So like it had like a little bit of I guess Power Rangers in there where it's like, hey, each person has their own animal that they're dealing with. But I don't remember if there was any like Voltron-esque combining that went on. But it definitely needs a facelift. It even if it was just redrawn again or Kai'd, like where they just take it and they edit it, just use the old voices and then throw it into a new anime, I think that would work really well. Because it's a really wonderful anime. If you've not watched it, I would suggest you go find some kind of Blu-ray version of it, if that exists, or the best HD copy you can find, 720 probably out there. And go watch this because it's really fun. And if you're into D&D, it'll definitely be right up your alley and maybe give you some inspiration for possible, adventures you want you to do or your DM to do. Because it's very D&D like. And that actually leads me into my other one. I'm keeping the reins. That leads me into my other one, which is Ranma 1/2. Really easy comedy that's about a martial artist who wants to be the best martial artist, but unfortunately falls in a cursed spring in China.
As we all do, yeah.
Yeah, and then is now anytime cold water is splashed on him, he turns into a girl, and anytime hot water is splashed on him, he turns into a guy. And there's several other characters in this list that do the same thing. And it's hilarious. It was the first manga and anime that I finished. And it was really heartfelt when I was watching it, and it's very funny at times. It kind of gives a nice basis for what a comedy / fight fusion. But again, it does that 90s pan where it's so slow. Like I showed him like 12 episodes, and I feel like we got into like an inch of story from 12 episodes where it was like, hey, here's the family, here's the main character. 6 episodes later, here's his main villain.
Fight.
Oh, yep, yeah, and they do random fights throughout it. But yeah, it could use a Kai. That's basically what it could use. It doesn't need really anything else. It's got a solid story, but just Kai it up.
Speedrun.
Yeah, speedrun it. Yeah, why not? I mean, it's like what? It's like 7 or 8 seasons or something, and so I'm like, you can Kai that thing, get it down to 6, and have a nice solid. I'll bring it into the shop. We're gonna Kai it up. Yeah, give it a nice solid story. Yeah, it's really fun anime, but yeah, definitely, touch it up here, add some blush. I don't know. Yeah. Any more that are top of your head?
I actually do have one more that I'm going to talk about. Actually, I think I recently remembered this one when I was playing some Xbox with Lucky. I don't know why I remembered it, but there's this. I guess it's an anime. It's called Ultimate Muscle, and I don't remember anything about the story. I just remember it was wrestling and food. And with what we've seen from Food Wars, I'm thinking that could look really cool. They just make all the food look way better. These crazy moves that are going all over the place. I don't know. I thought it was an interesting idea. So yeah, Ultimate Muscle. Yeah, I'd like to see it. Bring it back.
I can imagine that. I can just imagine a new story where it was like, and the ultimate chefs become the ultimate wrestlers. Because I have no idea what that show's about, but I'm like, that sounds really fun.
It's not like normal people. I mean, I actually was trying to do just a little bit like see what the food looked like, and there was like a gazelle person.
What?
Like a ripped gazelle person. I was like, what am I looking at?
What?
I don't remember this at all. Dude, I really don't. I think maybe I should put intergalactic wrestlers in front of that. I don't know.
What?
Crazy.
What?
I just keep like, no.
You put on layers. Like, I'm like, what? I was not expecting intergalactic to come out of your mouth, to be honest.
It's rather crazy. I don't know. Like they do superhuman wrestling. I don't know. It's crazy. So Ultimate Muscle, yeah. It was on Fox Kids, I think.
What?
Before or after Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, that one shouldn't have been so surprising. Maybe it's anime, like it's like, hey, let's bring this as a cartoon. What's an anime? It's like, what?
I think it does have a manga actually.
Never mind.
Because I think I was curious about that because I knew you would say something about that if I ever brought it up. And I think Lucky looked it up and like, yeah, there's a manga. I was like, what? So
wow,
Ultimate Muscle, it's out there.
Yeah,
I might do a rewatch. I don't know. I'll try and find it. I don't think I can really.
I really hope there's a real
Fox
life
Kids.
wrestling Ultimate Muscle food place. I think that'd be fun. I'm gonna list down just some, what do they call those? Honorable mentions. These are most facelift. It would just be fun to have a Rurouni Kenshin. Rurouni Kenshin still looks pretty good, so I'm like, man.
I think it could look better.
Yeah, it could look better. And this is going to be my most controversial pick because it probably is pretty controversial because it's so beloved. But I would say if we can throw out a redrawn Cowboy Bebop, so that way people in 20 years can also appreciate it as much as we all do now. Because it still looks good, but if it looked just beautiful, that's why I want it. If it were redrawn, don't throw any 3D in that show.
I was gonna say, I mean, if anything, yeah, just restore it.
Restore it,
That might be a better word.
or go find all the original cuts and then rescan them and make it like 4K versions of it.
Crisp that shit.
Yeah, crisp it up. Put it in the fryer.
Super crispy.
And bring it back out. Yeah. And so we would love to hear any of your shout outs for a reboot. I think we were mostly sticking around older anime because like even just like Zoids, I mean, it's been redone like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! There's like 5 versions of it. Other anime we were kind of checking out and trying to remember, like either had a fresh redo, like Hunter x Hunter is something you've watched, but that also came out like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Or like a recent redo of it has been put in place, like Neon Genesis Evangelion. Like you could say you could freshen that up, but it still looks pretty good. It's still drawn really well.
That's in the vein of like Cowboy Bebop. I think you'd have to kind of stick to what the animation was.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something unique about it that you shouldn't be changed.
You could Megalobox it. That's what you could do.
Yeah.
Is purposely make it look like that again. But yeah. So yeah, let us know what anime you want to see rebooted. And drop us like maybe a year of where it's from, just so we can check it out too, because we're always looking for new anime to check out. As Lucky keeps saying, if you have any suggestions for something type of video or something you want us to get done, let us know. We're always ears open and ready to do something new or get us out of our comfort zone. Maybe you want to see Johnny do a bunch of fan service, or maybe you want to see, Johnny do a whole bunch of anime series about love. I mean, who knows? Get us out of our box.
Don't do that.
Maybe don't do
No.
that. And as always, Share our videos if you can. If you like us enough and you think you have friends who would appreciate our brand of comedy and the way our videos are set up, let them know. And as Lucky always says, keep it